M1 Finance has been one of the best brokers for dividend investing since it launched. That's because it allows you to build your ideal portfolio first and then fund it over time. With these new dividend enhancements, M1 Finance has given us more flexibility, whether you want to sweep your dividends into a high yield cash account, reinvest the dividend back into the security that paid it, or customize how each dividend is handled. The most exciting new enhancement is the Dividend Income Visualizer. Combined with the new dividend handling options and how they've implemented this, M1 Finance is absolutely one of the top dividend investing brokers out there right now. In this video, I'll show you my portfolio and the new Dividend Income Visualizer and how you can see how much money you can expect to earn from dividends into the future. We'll also take a look at the new dividend handling options. All right, we're inside my M1 Finance account, and to get to the Dividend Visualizer, make sure you're in your portfolio under the Invest option here and go up to Holdings, and it comes to your traditional holdings view, which lists all your stocks out, and then up top here we have this dividend income. So we're going to click that, and it's going to bring us to this chart. So dividend income, investors like to know how much income they're going to receive per month or per year, and this tool does it for you. It has really three different things it's tracking here. The first is these dark blue bars. Those are the dividends that have been paid already. Then there's this middle blue color, and that's the pending dividends or dividends that are past their ex-dividend date but actually haven't hit your account yet. And then the third type is these gray boxes, and those are the estimated dividends going forward. Across the top here, we also have your total income for the time period that's highlighted, income that's been paid, pending, and the estimated income going forward. And then what I really like here is this average monthly income. The average monthly income is nice to know because if you're trying to build retirement income or passive income to quit your job or just have steady income in retirement, this is going to tell you approximately how much you're going to earn each month. Now there are different timelines available. You can look back to, in this case, 2023. Now I'm looking at this in July 2024. So I can go back to 2023 and see what I earned. I earned total income of about $2,000. And then you can look at the forward 12 months or the next 12 months, including this month. So that's a different view, so you can kind of estimate what you're looking at in the next 12 months. Now the total income is going to change because each month is going to be different. And so when you look 12 months out, from June to June or June to May, or for the year of 2024, it's going to be a different amount because companies increase their dividends throughout the year. So that might increase your total dividend amount, or companies might cut their dividends, or you might have sold a position that could reduce your income, or you may have bought more positions which would increase your income. So lots of variables, but really the key thing to look for here is the total income and the average monthly income. Now, if you're retired and living off the money, you may want to have better visibility into the amount of income that this portfolio has generated. So when you're trying to plan out your spending, you know what you're going to receive. Many dividend investors are really just looking to reinvest a lot of their dollars. Knowing what's coming down the pipeline isn't going to matter too much, but it's nice to know how much income you're generating, especially if you're building toward a goal. All right, so we have the three different views, the 2023, the 2024, the current year, and then the next 12 months. I'm going to go back to the 2024 and we'll use this view. If you highlight over these, you can get a little more information. You can see Costco is my top holding. It's going to pay a dividend this particular month. Altria is up there as well. Looks like a little bug there, undefined. But if you go through here, you can see what your top dividend payers are. Now I have some dividend stocks in here and some ETFs. I'm actually buying more ETFs now. ETFs are a little bit harder to estimate. So this is definitely going to be an estimation tool because you don't know exactly what ETFs are going to pay in the future. Stock dividends are a little bit more predictable, especially for the dividend aristocrats or other companies that pay consistent dividends and grow their dividends over time. And when you scroll down, you can see the list of companies that are paying upcoming dividends. There's the ex-dividend date and the pay date. So anytime your dividend is between these two dates, that's when it's going to be listed as pending. Conveniently shows the shares you own, the dividends per share, and the payment amount. So if you scroll down here, you can get a sense of what's coming. So for my portfolio, it's going to show all the way through, looks like November. And then if you keep going down, you're going to come to this holdings table that gives you a little more information. Down in this section, it gives you the last 12 months of dividends paid for each of these companies, the dividend yield, the yield on cost. That's the yield on your cost basis. Dividend investors like that because over time, your yield on cost tends to increase if the company increases their dividend. Then there's the average cost and the payout frequency. Now I have a few ETFs in here. You can see my SCHD. That shows up quarterly quarterly. Most of these are quarterly. I do have a monthly dividend ETF here, this VTEB Vanguard's tax-exempt bond ETF. It comes in monthly. But this MUB is another muni bond ETF, and it's showing is never issued. So it looks like that might be a bug, or it's having trouble determining what that is, but it is still bringing in the average cost here in the dividend yield. But if we go up into the table, it looks like some of those holdings are missing. So it may not be perfect with all ETFs. This VTEB is working just fine, but it's definitely better for dividend stocks. It works for some ETFs. Maybe there's some improvements that can be made there for these ETFs that aren't showing up in the payment area. Now, this might look familiar to some of you, this view. TD Ameritrade had a very similar view for many, many years, and I used to have a TD Ameritrade account, and I really liked this view. But TD Ameritrade was purchased by Schwab, and it does look like Schwab has built this into their platform, and it's very, very similar, where you hover over, you can see interest in dividends. Here there's the blue and the gray for pending and for paid. It does look like M1 was inspired by Schwab and how they built this out, and I think that's okay. This is not a proprietary type of view, but it is a view that I think most brokers need to have if you want to attract dividend investors who like to be able to control their dividends, like to be able to see their dividends and understand when they're going to be paid, how much they're going to be paid, and try to predict the future so that when you're trying to build passive income, you can watch that dividend income number grow, which is usually more stable than the stock market. And that's one of the things that attract a lot of us to dividend investing is the stock market fluctuates, but dividends tend to stay the same or gradually increase over time, unless, of course, a company cuts their dividend. That was the dividend income visualizer. Now let's look at the other enhancement. We're back at my portfolio page, and down here, there's this automation box, which has always been there, but there's this new tag here for dividend handling. So let's click on that. This is the new dividend handling screen, which I really like the way they've implemented this. It's very simple and it's clean, and it gives you all the power you need for handling your dividends, whether you want to reinvest them into the security that paid it, you want to just add it to the cash account like you've always done at M1 Finance. But you can also sweep into a high yield account, which many retirees right now may prefer that because their high yield account is paying 5% as of July 2024. And that's pretty good compared to taking a risk in the stock market, especially if the stock market gets frothy. So that's one of the options. But here we have the main option, and that's the default option for cash dividend payments. It just goes into your M1 Finance cash account, and when it hits a certain level, it will automatically reinvest those dividends into the pies. And that is the way that you've set up your pies, just the way that M1 has always done it. So they're not getting rid of that whole feature. You can still set your pies up by a percentage and spell that out, and then the automation will kick in, and any dividend you receive over a certain, I think it's over $25, or the cash minimum that you put in there, will go directly into the pies, which automatically buys the most undervalued holdings within each of those pies, which is one of the reasons why we've always liked M1 Finance in the first place. But I'm going to click into this one, reinvest into the underlying security. So you can automatically reinvest the proceeds from cash dividends into the underlying security that paid them. That means if you get a dividend from Coca-Cola or a dividend from Costco, it's going to reinvest the dividend right back into Costco. And as I understand this option here, that really applies to the whole portfolio. With this little footnote here, if your dividend payout does not meet the minimum trade requirement, which I believe is $25, then the payment would be treated as cash and added to the cash balance in your account. So you do have to have a minimum number of shares to earn enough dividends to make this feature work consistently for all of your holdings. The next option here is that sweep to high yield cash. I don't have that right now. I might actually get that soon because it's paying more than my Marcus account. But for those of you that have that high yield cash account right now that's paying 5%, that's July 2024, that will change over time, but it's one option there. And then the last one is this customized per security. So here we have Costco, which is my largest holding in this particular portfolio, and I can customize how I would like the dividend to be routed based on the security alone. So we have here add the cash to the account, we have reinvest in Costco, or sweep. And so it's going to give that option for each stock. Now the default here is cash. These dividends are going to be paid into the cash account. But if you would like to reinvest some of the dividends into the individual security that paid it or not, you can really customize that here. I'm going to put mine back to the cash account because that's the way I would like it to go. But one thing I've noticed here that you can't do is you can't customize per security to pay the dividend into another security. For example, I can't take my Costco dividend and with that specifically choose another security to buy. For example, if I wanted to buy a Schwab dividend ETF or a Vanguard dividend ETF or another type of ETF, or even an individual company like Coca-Cola, I can't specifically direct the Costco dividend into a specific security. That doesn't bother me at all because that's really what the pies do. Right now, I have it set up so that anytime I get a stock dividend, it goes into the cash account. And from that cash account, I'm directing my dividends into the pie that is most undervalued at the time. And in this case, I've set it up so that the pie that I want to direct my dividends into is clearly the one that has the least value. You see, I have 5 slices or 5 pies in my total portfolio, and the target for each of the pie allocations is 20%. Now, I'm not there right now, and I have a small pie here that is clearly undervalued, and that's because I've been building this over time, and I'm directing dividends I receive from individual stocks into this diverse income ETF portfolio where I just have some ETFs that I've selected that I would like to earn dividends from. So the way I have it set up is I'm directing my dividends into a specific pie. I don't really care if I reinvest into a specific stock or not. I really want to get it into more ETFs to build up my ETF income as I slowly reduce my number of stock holdings and reduce my reliance on individual stocks and move toward a more ETF focused portfolio. I own 60 or 70 individual stocks between all of my different accounts and portfolios. I only own about 20 in this M1 account. And so eventually I want to own fewer individual stocks and more ETFs across all of my portfolios. And the pies and the way that you can direct money into the pies works just fine for me. So at this point, I will not be changing my strategy, but I do appreciate that it's here because we can direct our dividends into a particular stock or ETF or into the high yield cash account or however you like to do it. Overall, it's a ton of flexibility for dividend investors. And going back to the visualization tool, this is really just a great way to view your account. Some of you have been following me for a long time know that I used to maintain my dividend portfolio in a Yahoo Finance portfolio. I dumped the data into a spreadsheet, and I would use that to calculate the next 12 months of what my dividend income would be. That became very tedious with all my holdings, and I really don't need that information anymore. And tools like this one make it much easier for me to just know what I'm going to earn from this account so that if I'm going to be spending that money or reinvesting it, I have a pretty good sense of how much money I'll be earning through dividends, which is part of my overall retirement strategy is to have some dividend income to cover expenses. I also have an account with Fidelity. Fidelity does not have this view right now. It's kind of sad they don't because they have a lot of nifty technology on their platform. They do have a sort of a table similar to this one that's going to tell you the payment date and the ex-dividend date and the shares. So they do have this table on Fidelity, but they don't have the view. So in my eyes, M1 has really stepped it up a notch to cater to dividend investors. And by the way, like when M1 first launched, dividend investors loved it, but they struggled with reporting some of the dividends. And a lot of us became very vocal about the oversight or the way that they handled dividends way back in 2017, 2018. And our voices encouraged the developers to build out the functionality, the early functionality of tracking dividends. And I know that the dividend community has remained vocal and asked for these types of enhancements. And so that gives you some confidence in a brokerage that they're listening to their investors, they're investing in the enhancements that their customers would like to see, and they're building out different products and integrating them into one complete platform. Now, the one downside with this view is it's not available on mobile yet. So right now, July 2024, it's desktop only. I assume they're going to add this to mobile eventually, and hopefully it's as easy to use and as helpful as it is here because a lot of people just use the app exclusively, so it'd be a shame if they're not able to see this information there over the long term. That's all for this video. If you're an M1 customer and you have ideas of ways that M1 can enhance the dividend experience, go ahead and put those ideas in the comments below. Hopefully we can get a list of items that we can communicate back to M1 to really make the experience even better. I'm Craig from retirebeforedad.com. I write about personal finance and DIY investing for financial independence. I've been investing in dividend stocks for about 30 years. So if you like this content, let me know by subscribing and liking this video, and I'll be sure to include more dividend focused content in the future. Thanks for watching.